Hello YouTube. I did a word study with Strong's Concordance. I show that in my videos quite a bit. I wanted to show you what I found. First I want to say, and let's see if I can find a dollar bill here. Hold on a minute. Pardon me. I didn't really plan on this. There we go. Back of the dollar bill. Egyptian pyramid there. Okay, I've talked about this before. And it's about the sun god Ra with all-seeing eye of Horus at the top and the sun god behind it, okay, in the Egyptian pyramid. Okay, Ben Franklin said the United States was the new Egyptian society, okay. In Genesis chapter 3, you had the serpent talking to Eve, and she said, "You will not surely die, if your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." The word evil there is the Hebrew word Ra, R-A, and it means evil. But Ra was the name of the Egyptian sun god, okay? And so he was saying through this hidden knowledge of the Egyptian sun god, even though Egypt didn't exist yet, it ended up being, he was saying through this evil knowledge, this Ra knowledge, that you don't need God, that through knowledge and technology, you can live life yourself, okay? Now, notice when you make things, you have raw materials. It's not coincidence at all. I've done word studies in another video, and that's another word study I need to do, the word raw. But we're going to be talking about raw a little bit here. Now, I want to show you something in Isaiah chapter. You can look these up in your Bible. I mean, it's interesting. Isaiah 14:12. It talks about Lucifer. And if you look up the word Lucifer, it tells you the actual Greek word there. And you go to the, actual Hebrew word. And you go to the Hebrew dictionary in Strong's Concordance, and it's comes up that it is Hallel. That's the name of Satan. That's his real Hebrew name, is Hel-El. Okay? El can be the name of a false god or the true God, because the true God, one of his names is El Shaddai and El Roy and a lot of different names like that. El Elyon. And it is the El is talking about God, and then that, like El Roy is talking about a description, a characteristic of God. All right, well, Hel-El means that Satan is one of the little gods of hell. Okay, that's the first thing I want to say. Now, I was studying. I was looking through the Greek dictionary in the Strong's Concordance. If you look at number 2246, you have the word Helios, which means sun or east. All right? And if you study Helios and you'll study the science of studying the sun and stuff, this word Helios has a whole lot to do with the science of the sun. All right, now, in Genesis chapter 3, the serpent said that through this knowledge and technology, you don't need God. In other words, he wants to get rid of God. And he's saying that humans can get rid of God through their own knowledge and through technology. All right, Mystery Babylon the Great, Revelation chapter 17. If you read that, read Revelation 17, 18, and 19. There's a lot in there, and I talk about Mystery Babylon the Great a lot, and I believe the United States of America is Mystery Babylon the Great, and I think it is also the end times Egypt. And if you notice in the story of Israel escaping from the land of Egypt, the Pharaoh chases God's people all the way to the Red Sea. God parts the Red Sea, which is a symbol of end times, and he lets the children of Israel go through, but it floods and destroys all the Egyptians, which is a symbol of the end times, and that God will judge the Egyptians or the worldly people at the end of time. Okay, United States is the ultimate fulfillment of Babylon, the ultimate fulfillment of Egypt. Now that's important. The reason it's important is because if you look at the story of Cain and Abel, okay, Cain and Abel, Cain slew Abel, and a lot of people know that, all right? Now, if you look in Genesis, in Genesis chapter 4, it talks about Cain and Abel, and it says that Cain was a tiller of the ground, okay? Now, if you look, Cain was a tiller of the ground. The word tiller there is abad. And if you look in Revelation chapter 9, verse 11, talks about the angel from the bottomless pit, and his name is Abaddon or Apollyon. Abaddon means to destroy, so does Apollyon. Abad, the tiller of the ground, and then the ground is number 127, Dama, means land with a focus on the elements of the earth. Now notice it's the elements of the earth. It's because that was the beginning of using the things like steel and different ores and things to end up making technology and cars and skyscrapers and airplanes and all that stuff. Cain was the beginning of that. It says that Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground, a worker of the ground and the elements of the ground. Okay, and he was a tiller, which means abad, which is connected to the word Abaddon, which is the destroyer. Now, if you notice this word right here, in the Greek dictionary in Strong's Concordance, number 2247, it's the name Helos, and it specifically means nails used in the crucifixion. Technology made the nails that crucified Christ. Okay? That's very significant, and the reason it's significant is because if the United States is Mystery Babylon the Great, Revelation 17, 18, and 19 says that the things she has in her silver cup full of abominations of the earth and the filthiness of her fornication, the same things that are in her cup is what will destroy her. United States of America is the nation that has brought about most of the technology in the world. The airplanes, the cars, telephones, internet, everything, okay? And that's the things that's going to destroy the United States. The United States is the first one to drop an atom bomb. It says Mystery Babylon the Great will be burned up in 1 hour, and people, for fear of her burning, will stand afar off. The United States will probably get nuked by China or Russia or North Korea or Iran or somebody. And that's probably what's going to happen. It's sad, but that's what's going to happen. Okay? Now, if you look in Psalm 78:47, well, Psalm 78, it's talking about a lot of things in this chapter, but Psalm 78, it's talking about Israel and how they had turned away from God, but then God punished them and they turned back to God. And in Psalm 78, verse 35, it talks about Israel, and it says, and they remembered that God was their rock, and the high God their Redeemer. Notice God was their rock, one of the elements of the earth. And they're saying that God is their portion. God is what they want, not the things that Cain wanted, the elements of the earth. They want God to be their reward. They want God to be the elements that they want. They want God to be number one in their life. God is their rock, not the earth, okay? Now, if you keep reading in Psalm 78, verse 43, it talks about how he judged Egypt. If the United States of America is the new Egypt, according to Ben Franklin, and I think it is, and if we're the Mystery Babylon the Great, this is what he says about Egypt. And how he had wrought his signs in Egypt and his wonders in the field of Zon, and had turned their rivers into blood and their floods as they could not drink. Now notice this. What's going on in the United States with all the storms and stuff? He sent various sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. Remember, Cain slew Abel. Okay? And the word slew there is the same word here as destroyed in Psalm 78:47. He destroyed their vines. Okay? He slew Abel, number 2026. It's the same word as destroyed in Psalm 78:47. Same word. Okay? Psalm 78:47, God speaks of destroying the vines of Egypt. Same word as Cain slew Abel. Now, if you keep reading, verse 48, and he gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. Okay? He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger and indignation and trouble by sending evil angels among them. Now, this is very, very significant, okay? And the reason is what it means, the evil angels among them, all right? Remember in Genesis chapter 3, the serpent said, ye shall know good and evil. The word evil there, sun god Ra. The word evil is the Hebrew word Ra, okay? Now here you go. By sending trouble, evil angels among them. Evil is number 7,451. It is the word Ra, which means wicked and ethical quality, which is disagreeable to God. Okay, and then to look up angels, it's number 4,397, means a human representative. Okay, means we have a human representatives in the new Egypt, giving messages that are totally against what pleases God. What does Barack Obama do? All right. And people are saying, we need to stop them. We got to do this. We got to do that. We have to refuse to do this. We have to do that. You're not going to stop it. God is judging the new Egypt. God is judging Mystery Babylon the Great. Okay? That's what's going on. And there is no human power that's going to stop it. Because God says he will judge Mystery Babylon the Great. And if you look in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 19, it's talking about Babylon. And it says, talking about the Chaldees. If you look up the word Chaldeans in the Hebrew dictionary, it means whisper a spell. Mystery Babylon the Great says, by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. The word sorceries there is pharmakia, which comes from Pharaoh, Egypt. And it says they will be like Sodom, they will be like Gomorrah. That's in Isaiah 13:19.